Hello friends, my name is Christina Grozik and I'm with a documentary called Going Om, which is a journey about sound, but we also cover topics like vibration, frequency, energy, and silence. And those topics are so important that we have decided to extend the discussions about them and speak with different people about how they use them and why that matters. So if you're interested in learning more about the film, you can always go to the website goingomfilm.com. You can find out more about the film there, but let's get into the discussion today because I'm very excited and honored to be able to connect with Kevin Locke. He's here with me today, and he is a traditional storyteller, a visionary hoop dancer, an Indigenous flute master, a recording artist, having recorded over 30 albums. He's an educator, a cultural ambassador, and he has been performing for over 40 years to tens of thousands of people. And he's been in like over 90 countries. So he has seen a lot, interacted with a lot, and shared his gifts with a lot of people. So hello and welcome, Kevin. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you.
Good. It's so good to connect with you and share time. So thank you so much.
Yeah, very good. Yeah,
Yeah.
appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to Dr. Craig Woodson. I know when Craig and I were speaking on the phone, he's like, you know who you have to connect with here. Get a pen and paper. You have to connect with Kevin Locke. You two are going to resonate so much. And I'm like, yeah. So thank
Oh,
you to him as well for connecting us in that way. So I
oh,
want to
good.
talk to you about so many different things here today. And I mean, your journey has been such an amazing one. And I love that you share what you do with people. So it's really to raise awareness on the oneness that we share as human beings. And
Yes,
that's so beautiful and magical
yes,
and so important.
yes, exactly.
Yeah, so I want to talk about your storytelling, and I heard this excerpt from one of your storytelling presentations, and this is make me wise that I may know the many things you have hidden in every leaf and rock. And when I heard that, and that's part of something larger, but when I heard that, I'm like, and I just felt it in the chest, It spoke to my heart. So yeah, thank you for that. And I mean, we've told stories and used songs over generations and generations as a way to share lessons and
Mhm.
also history. And you are doing this. You are doing traditional storytelling. So tell us a little bit about that and tell us how you use your voice during the storytelling process.
Okay, yeah. The of course the human voice is very, very powerful, and it's a powerful medicine. We use our voice as a potent medicine to bring healing and to restore life and beauty into this world. And so this is one of the great gifts that we have is to be able to use. All of us have this gift, and so this you know we can use it through our language. They always say there's four ways to pray, and one way is we can just use our spoken word, spoken voice, which is the most basic one, I guess you could say. And then another way is it'll like turbocharge your prayer. You can sing your prayer. This is very important. And one of the things which is really ubiquitous here in North America, as long as people have lived here, and that is we can dance our prayer, which is really, I saw that video that you did of over there in uh, uh, the Okeowinge people over in New Mexico, and they really carry that practice out of dancing their prayer. It's a collective prayer, for the restoration of beauty and harmony. So that's the third way, and that's a very important way throughout North America, because I think that in a lot of cultures, especially maybe what they call Western cultures, dancing and music also are thought of as being like superfluous or extraneous activities. But here in North America, as long as people have been here, music and dance are obligatory activities. You can't get around it. You can't avoid it. If you participate in traditional culture. That's a different story. But then the fourth way of praying is you have to live that prayer. You have to live it. You have to breathe it every day. And so, and that's really the basis. If you don't have that, then you've got nothing. That's like the underlying foundation of everything. Yeah. But yeah, like we say, that it all springs from the voice and from sound. Like, I don't know if you can hear it, but we have the sound of rain right out here. We had a nice, beautiful storm system that came through here. And so it's a beautiful thing because, this is the season of life when the thunders come back in the spring. And then as long as the thunders are present, that life is sustained, the physical life. And then they retreat, usually around September or early October. Then they disappear, they leave. And then, but as long as they're here, then they sustain the life. And so it's really the voice of the thunder. The voice of the thunder, they say, that maintains life throughout the year. And so then, and that's in the physical world. But then, of course, we as human beings, we don't migrate south. We pretty much have, well, of course, now you can travel anywhere, but I mean, in the past, we were kind of stationary, but yet we can keep that springtime eternal through the use of sound. We use sound. And so we use 4 instruments to invoke the power and the efficacy of the thunder. And that's how we make music. Of course, each of these 4 instruments has a counterpart in one of the one of the aspects of the thunders. So, of course, you can use a drum. You can use a drum, and the drum represents the sound of the thunder, and then you can use a rattle too. The rattle represents the sound of the rain, or could be hail coming down too. The rattle. Then you can use a wind instrument, like this is the basic one. It's a bone whistle right there. You can use that, or the flutes. I use the flutes. You can use those, and so that's the sound of the wind. The wind. Each of these has a significance. Because like the sound of the thunder, that's kind of like the clarion call that goes out. Everything was in a state, a dormant state of rest, and then when that thunder booms out, then that shakes everything up. And even the sound of the rain coming down, that's the water of life. The water of life that restores, it cleanses, and then it brings life. And then, of course, the wind also cleanses, and then it breathes life into the creation also. And then the one that we're talking about now also is the human voice, human voice, and that represents that the lightning. The lightning. You see, the lightning comes down, but that lightning, it's it has the sound, the sound like the drum, like that. But the lightning is the animating force. The lightning is the force that infuses life and energy into the creation. So we can do that with our voice, through music, through speaking too. We can do that as well. We can infuse life, and just like so then now in the physical environment, you're getting towards the end of the reign or dominion of the thunders. So then when they retreat, all we have left to sustain life is the power of music, power of sound. So then we keep that life going throughout the year, all the time. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You described that and took us on that journey for sure. And I mean, even thinking of the voice as the lightning, that's like the spark, right? That's like
Yeah.
the electricity that's like fusing and activating everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So yeah, so true. So true. So this is why throughout North America, you can see this. We always have like we welcome the thunders everywhere. We welcome them and we sing for them. We acknowledge them. And so it's very, very important. And, to mark the different seasons throughout the year, different periods of time through the gift of music, we can mark that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we shared the same belief on this. That I heard you say this, I was like, oh my gosh, But I think that we both feel that music transcends us, and it takes
Yeah.
a completely different place, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask you. You also, in addition to your traditional storytelling, you also teach workshops with the flute. So can you tell us a little bit about what your workshops look like and your work with?
Yeah, yeah. I do this. We do this. These workshops here, and initially we thought of it as a strategy for language revitalization because here in this area, we have our native language, our indigenous language, and we actually have quite a large number of speakers, relatively speaking, but we have to really act fast to bolster that, to promulgate that. And so one of the great strategies for language revitalization is music, because after all, no matter who you are on the planet, whatever language you speak, chances are you learned so much of it through music, like numbers and colors. You learn basic, grammatical structures, idioms, everything through music. And of course, we continue to do that. Music reinforces, and it's, linguistically, it's very important. And so that's why we thought it'd be really good to revitalize the traditional flute. And this would serve as like a catalyst or springboard for kids to really learn music. So we also made a lot of recordings of like children's songs. So we made a lot of those too. I
Yeah.
think 3 or 4 volumes like that.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is what we did. And I wanted to mention that the flute that we're revitalizing is we call it shiotanka. Shiotanka, it's the same word we use for this for the whistle, eagle bone whistle, and it's also the same word we use for the original flute. Like here's a flute that was made by my mom's grandfather,
Oh, wow.
and he was born in the 1850s. So this flute here is probably over 100 years old, and so we call that shiotanka in Lakota language. And the word that I think is best to use in English is indigenous flute. Indigenous flute. I think that's a better word because we want to differentiate it from the. Here's another one. This was made by Dan Red Buffalo, probably about 70 or 80 years ago. So
Beautiful.
these kind of flutes here, they're the original tuning system. I think in 1983, this a German American man invented what's called the Native American flute, which is based on the shakuhachi, which is the Japanese flute. So it's a shakuhachi tuning. And then this was effectively marketed all over. So everywhere you go, Yosemite, Grand Canyon, everywhere you go, all over the internet, that's all you see is Native American flutes, see? But it's not associated with indigenous North American musical aesthetic. It's Japanese. So I hate to burst people's bubble, but we're just trying to bring back the original flute because that's the one that you can play the original songs. All the songs originate as vocal composition, and so that's what we're trying to do. They have a special genre of music for the flute. They're basically like have to do with romance, that kind of a thing. But you can play any kind of a song on these traditional tuned flutes. Yeah.
Okay.
They're more versatile. They're more versatile than the Native American flute, which is, like I said, brand new modern creation, Native American flute. They're everywhere. Everywhere you look, that's all you're going to see. But I'm just saying this so that you can differentiate it. But the Native American flute is not very versatile, whereas the original flute is very versatile. You can play, you can not only get the traditional scales of North America, you can also get like a chromatic scale, diatonic scale, and of course pentatonic as well. So it's very versatile. Yeah.
And where, thank you for clarifying that and showing us the difference. I appreciate you explaining that. Where would someone find a traditional flute versus the other flute, the Native American flute?
Well, funny thing, I've been on this for like 40 years, trying to explain the difference. But everybody, I think people didn't believe me or something. But then finally, it went on Facebook, and there's a Facebook group called I think it's Indigenous North American Flutes and Music. It's a Facebook group. You go on there, and it's really a good site on Facebook, and it shows who makes those flutes. There's very few, just a handful now. But I think people are starting to become aware now, and they're beginning to make the original flutes, original tune flutes. Yeah, so it's really good. It's really good, and I try and help out as many people as are interested, to give them, little lessons or mentor them, and so it's good. It's getting off to a slow start, but slowly coming around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you know what? We'll include that. I'll include the link to that in
Okay.
text here, so it'll be in the description too. But yeah, well, thank you for the education on that note.
Sure.
And with your students, in teaching people the flute, have you encountered a situation with a student that really stands out to you about a transformation or a change in their life for the better that they had as a result of taking up flute playing?
Yeah, definitely. Because you know, for different people, like I do flute workshops all over. We make actually thousands of flutes in all the schools around here. And anyway, gosh, just recently, this little girl, I think she's only like 7 years old, or maybe she's 8 now, and she was just a random student in one of my classes. Oh, I know it was up at we have this immersion school. We have these immersion schools around here where there's no English allowed. So this is really a smart kid, and I was just giving all the instructions, and just in Lakota language, no English at all. I said, le shiotanka kilele o chloke shakpe cheche chanke le echela o chloke shakpe yuha le shiotanka uyajopi. So I just explaining everything to her like that, and she caught on really fast, And then we've got this book here that gives like the history, gives the context for the use of the flute, talks about how the flute's made and how it's used in traditional culture. So it's a little over half of it is like that, and then a lot of it's just the notation for all these songs, and we use a lot of the Lakota language in those songs. And I don't know how many songs are in here, quite a few, and she went right through and learned every one of those songs. Just a little girl, and she wanted to come. She came back and she wanted to learn a lot more. So you find people like this that are just, they're just gifted, and they have this natural ability to absorb information and absorb knowledge and integrate it into their lives. So it's really encouraging to find people like that, and they're everywhere. You find them everywhere, especially now with the younger generation coming up. They have this, there's so many amongst them that have these natural gifts and talents that can just be released into the world, just like the springtime out here. And we're in a comparable or an analogous period in human history now, where in the news, you look at the news and you can see like a daily catalog of horrors, as see all these environmental degradation and political systems crumbling, and all this, recrudescence of racism and everything bad. And that's the headline news we see every day. it's just like we're looking at this old horrible ravages of some kind of world destroyed world. But the thing that the media for the most part doesn't pay attention to are the signs of integration, signs of life. You know, just like outside, we can see that rain. You can see this morning when I went outside and I went out walking on the grass there, you can just feel like everything was celebrating that rain. The birds were all singing and the ground was just absorbing all that water. You just feel that nice, soft, cushioning effect in the ground. And so this is what the world oftentimes we fail to recognize, the little signs of life that are appearing everywhere. So then we as people, we have to align ourselves with these forces of integration, align and encourage it. So we can look at all the disintegration and all the chaos all around us. We're kind of caught up in it, but we don't have to be a part of it. We can stand firm as supporters or advocates of this positive integrative power in the world right now. And so we do that. We can do that. Align ourselves with it, through our voice as well, to support. Open your mouth, and you can say good things. Encourage people like that. Encourage them in a good way, and sing for them too. That's what we really believe in too. In our traditional cultures, we sing for people, sing for them, restore them to well-being, to wholeness. We sing for them. Yeah. Put their mind right, put their heart right.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
yeah, because it's all connected. And I know you
Yeah.
mentioned, and I thought this was beautiful the way you explained it about what we can learn from a tree and
Yeah.
the tree. So do you want to kind of walk us through that journey of what we can learn from rooting in like a tree in the branches?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, of course the tree itself is it's really a universal archetype. So no matter where you go on the planet, they have that archetype of the tree of life. And we have this in our traditional stories too. And remember one time I was up in Nuuk, Greenland, which is the capital of Greenland. It's on the west coast of Greenland, but it's way up there in the high Arctic, and the in the whole island of Greenland, the tallest kind of vegetation is about that tall. They've got these blueberry bush will go about that tall. So they don't have any trees at all. But in their stories, the oral tradition, they talk about it. It figures prominently. The tree of life. They recognize that. So it really is a universal archetype metaphor. But the tree of life represents the connection between heaven and earth, represents the center of the creation, center of the universe. And so, this is one of the things that we always do is we have songs about that tree of life. So it brings everybody into it, since it's a point of connection of all creation. Just like out where you are now in Ohio, that's part of the Haudenosaunee, the Iroquois people. They talk about this tree of life, the white roots of peace. It's spread out all over the world, and how everybody now is invited to take shelter beneath those branches of the tree. So the branches represent the universal human values, universal laws and principles of unity, of oneness, and of goodness, of truth, honor, all these things that really are no one group of people has any kind of monopoly on any of that. It belongs to all of us. It belongs to all of us. So yeah, that's how we do that. We can so this tree of life is it's very universal. It's very, very important. And so we have, I know in our local culture we have so many songs about the tree of life, and they are meant to pull everybody's mind into that place. And it's in that place, of course, it transcends time and place. It's like it's really eternal. If you ever go to Australia, the native people down there, I don't know, there's a lot of different ethnicities down there, but they all talk about it's called dream time. Have you heard of that? Dream time. And they use sound to create that dream time. You probably heard of that didgeridoo. It's it's kind of a wind instrument that they use there. And they use that bull roar, they spin it around like that. And they use percussion clap sticks, but it's all based on their voice. They use the voice. And so through that sound, through that music, then they pull everybody into the dream time, pull everybody into dream time. And that's the point of origin where everything originated out of a dream, out of this, you could say the ether, but it all came into being on that vibration of sound. And we do that here too in North America. You know, this is one of the foundational laws here in North America is the law of fasting. It's part of every different kind of, spiritual heritage. You know, the Christianity has Lent, I believe, a lot, not all of it, but some. You know, Islam has Ramadan. I think Judaism has Yom Kippur. And so they all do, all the different religions, you know. And myself, I'm a Baha'i, so we have a law of fasting as well. But this is something that's always existed here in North America, this law of fasting. So through the law of fasting, this is where we really connect. You know, we escape these limitations of the physical world, all the constraints, you know, and we connect to the timeless part of ourselves. And we do that through music too. That was one of the first things that I asked my uncle to help me go out fasting. He was asking me, he said, you know, if I help you put you out there fasting, what are you going to do? Oh, I just said, I'll pray, you know, for my problems and things like that. He said, well, how are you going to pray? He said, well, I'll just say my prayer. I said, no, he says, us people here, when we pray, we sing our prayers. That's how we do it. We sing our prayers. He says, I can't help you if you're just out there singing like Mary Had Little Lamb or something like that. So what he wanted me to do was to commit myself to his tradition, which is all these songs. So this whole, how do you say, a liturgy or a litany of songs that they only use for fasting, to observe the law of fasting is really important. And this is not just here, but all over North America, this law of fasting is preeminent. And through this law of fasting, all these hidden mysteries, hidden secrets revealed to the people, so that everything in creation has a sound, has a movement, has a color. So then through this, through the law of fasting, we connect to all of that. And we're gifted with this, the songs. You know, we have songs for everything, songs for all of the, the rooted, the winged, you know, the plants, the birds, all the different kind of insects and animals. Everything has a song that goes with it, a sound that goes with it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that so much, Kevin. And let me ask you with the fasting aspect to that, and the fasting aspect that allows us to receive is the idea of fasting, is it to settle the self, or is it to open up space so we can receive those things? What is the connection between the fasting and the receiving?
Well, yeah, it's all of that, but it's kind of it's symbolic too, in that it represents detachment from the physical world.
Mm.
We detach ourselves from the physical world, and then we launch ourselves into this the spiritual world, so that like here when they do that fasting, it's no food and no water either, maybe 4 days and 4 nights. And so then a lot of people say, isn't that hard? Well, one of the things is that this whole idea of hunger, sensation of hunger, all it is this your digestive system sending a message to your brain. So that's all it is. It's like just a physiological condition. And so then after like 24 hours or less, that whole thing switches off. So there's no sensation of hunger at all. It doesn't exist. The only thing that's really there is maybe thirst. You get thirsty. But then the other thing is just isolation. Because around here, when we go out fasting, you go out into a wilderness area where there's no trappings of the modern world. So all you're just there with the environment itself. So, the sound of the birds, the sound of the insects, the sound of the wind, the thunders, all those different movements and colors. So that's what you integrate yourself with into that world of creation. So you leave this physical world. Like I always think it was just like quicksand. We're standing on quicksand, you know. A lot of people think there's substance to it, but it's just an artificial infrastructure that we exist within. And it really the only virtue is if it supports the upliftment of the human spirit. That's only it was only just for luxury or you know how they call that you know just kind of your own comfort or whatever. It doesn't have any purpose. There's no purpose to it. Yeah, but as long as it uplifts the human spirit, then it's good. It's all right.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
can use it like that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for explaining that. And what is is there a significance of 4 days versus like 3 days or 10 days? Is there a significance with the number four?
Yeah, here in North America, there's a 4 is really an important number. They use it all throughout North America, throughout time. And when I say North America, I'm not ignoring all the immigrant population, but I'm just saying if we live in North America, there's an underlying spiritual heritage that goes back tens of thousands of years. So I'm just of the school of thought that we can't ignore that. We have to acknowledge that. The holy ones have walked upon this land too. Great, the messengers of God, holy souls have appeared here, and that's the underlying foundation of this side of the world. We're talking about half the planet. And this is the Western Hemisphere is one half the planet, and then the Eastern Hemisphere is the other half. So as long as we're here in the Western Hemisphere, we might as well be a part of it. Recognize the roots of this hemisphere. See, that's all I'm saying. But that I don't mean to be what you call ethnocentric, but I'm just saying this. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm loving this conversation. I'm loving what you're sharing with us and teaching. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's why, that's why we're here. I mean, for me, I will always be a student. Every day, every moment, I'm a student. I'm
Oh
always
yeah.
something for sure. So,
Yeah.
let's talk about the significance. So we've talked about the voice and how the voice can be used to pass down stories and history and song, right? And how music can transcend us and take us to other places, and how we can celebrate and pray through song. So let's talk
Yeah.
about the movement side of that. Let's talk about that a little bit. And I know you had mentioned the buffalo dance that we see,
Yeah.
which I will tell you that out of different experiences in my life, that is one that I will for always treasure. I will for always treasure that moment. And everything leading up to that, it all came together at such a very interesting pace and way. And, it's one of those things that that you're on the right path, because we had all this other stuff planned and it all fell apart. And this
Yeah.
the path, and it's like, yes. So when people are like, oh, well, who's directing it? And it's like, well, it's not us. We're not directing it, because we had all these plans and they all kept falling apart, but other things came into the plan. And that's the way it was meant to be, right? So the dance, that buffalo dance, I mean, it literally brought me to tears at the end, because it was so magnificent and beautiful, and I was so grateful for the opportunity just to witness it. And then
Yeah.
with others too. So I know there's also an eagle dance, and I know the significance of the eagle. I've heard you talk about the eagle. So can
Yeah.
you tell us about the symbolism of the eagle dance, why the eagle dance is done, and what the eagle means?
Yeah. Well, the eagle is it's really a powerful symbol, maybe all over the world, but especially here in North America. It's very, very powerful because the eagle, of course, it flies higher than all of anything else in creation. So it represents that ascendancy. So in that sense, also represents the ascendant nature of the human spirit. So I think a lot of times when people came from Europe over here to this part of the world, they looked at the native people and they wrongly assumed that they worship nature. It's not that at all. It's not that at all. But it's just this principle that everything in the world, you could say like the physical world, everything in the world is a physical manifestation of a spiritual reality. So in other words, like the seen world and the unseen world are all the manifestations of the hand of one creator. You can say one creator fashioned everything, and that one creator didn't create the physical world and then use all different kind of principles for this unseen world or the spiritual world. But no, it's all part of one vast network, one creation. And but that spiritual world is far above and beyond our ability to comprehend or to understand or grasp. So then we use this principle that that they're related. So everything in this world is a physical manifestation of a spiritual reality. So everything here is a counterpart to something in the spiritual worlds. So that's a really important principle because that's the way they're operating. So it wasn't that the whoever it was, the Europeans came here and they saw the native people acknowledging these different entities. Like when they had a meeting, they made a fire, and that fire would burn throughout that consultation. Represents that the eternal covenant, the presence of God. It symbolizes that. Or maybe they turn towards a mountain, but they're not worshiping that mountain, but the mountain is just emblematic of a divine principle of maybe majesty. Or maybe they'll go to that ocean and they'll acknowledge the ocean, but the ocean they're not praying to, but just represents like maybe limitlessness or sublimity or something like this. Or maybe they see the eagle flying, they're not praying to the eagle, but the eagle represents nobility, represents ascendancy. You could even go so far as to say it represents the ascendant nature of the human spirit. You were like that eagle, we've got the wing of male and female, wing of maybe science and religion. So it represents our innate nobility. So the eagle symbolizes that. So that if you saw the eagle dance there, I don't know if you saw that, but then they capture that, and maybe even I don't even know. I have no idea what the lyrics of the songs are, but here when we do eagle songs, they talk about the journey of the eagle over the creation, over all of creation. And there's several songs. They're sequential songs like that. Then you can do the dance that goes with it as well. So maybe that's analogous what you saw in New Mexico down there. So yeah. So then, in any case, it acknowledges that importance of the symbolic meaning of the eagle, which is so important here in North America as a symbol as well. Yeah.
So when would this dance be performed? When would that be? Are there certain situations it would be performed for? Is it trying to elicit or call or honor or respect? I mean, I know every time it's done, it does exactly that, but is there a certain time that it would be performed?
Yeah, they can do that on any occasion where they want to invoke that. A lot of times they use that for praying for people's health, for healing, for restoring that balance and healing within people. Same with really all of those different kinds of dances as well. But I think that in New Mexico, they can use it for different feasts that they observe throughout the year, and they go by seasons also. There's certain different kind of dances they do in the in the spring and the summer, and then others they do in the fall and the winter. Same thing where you're at over there. The Haudenosaunee, the Iroquois, they really did differentiate between the winter dances and then the spring and summer dances, and those. But I don't know that much about it. But I know that they do. Yeah,
I think it's fascinating. I think it really
it
is.
is.
It really hopefully helps people to consider that are new to the concept of the season changes, of the connection
Yeah,
of everything, of, an appreciation maybe for the
yeah,
around us.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm the person that I try to find, some kind of awe or wonder in every single day. In every day.
yeah. We have to.
Absolutely. It's all around us.
Yeah,
It's all around us.
it
So,
is.
yeah, so talking about dance, you have the hoop dance. And
Yeah,
yeah, I want to ask you about this because I've heard you call it a choreographed prayer, which I think,
yeah,
so good, right? And it
yeah,
calls for, unity of all races of mankind. And I understand
Yeah.
that you have used 28 hoops that symbolize the number of days in the lunar cycle, but some
Yes.
you can use two hoops. And when you use two hoops, you use the white hoop to represent the moon and the yellow moon to represent the sun and the balance
Yeah.
of the two, right? The light and the dark. And then when you use the other hoops, then we're talking about, you know, the four elements. We're talking about the four directions. We're talking about how it represents the human family. So can you tell us about the hoop dance, like a little more about it, what it is, and then the different symbolisms that are associated with it?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of different traditions and stories about it, and I think they're all accurate. They're all accurate because they're not conflictive. I think out here they it belonged to this. They had these different kind of service organizations in pre-reservation days, and these service organizations they really performed self-abnegating altruistic acts of service for the people, like maybe taking care of elders or orphans, or maybe taking care of people that were debilitated. And so they would really arise to fill that, to fulfill that need. Maybe when the people are moving camp from one place to the other, then they'll organize that, orchestrate that. Maybe a hunt, buffalo hunt or whatever, then they'll organize that. So they have this real important role. So now they themselves think of it as such a privilege and honor to perform these acts of service that periodically throughout the year they'll put on a feast in appreciation of of having this honor of being able to serve. And within that feast, then they have their own distinctive music and dance that they'll put on. So this is where this hoop dance comes from one of these service organizations. And I think, people can explain it different ways, but the way I got this dance, I got it kind of through a vision. I guess you'd say it was through a vision. I got the meaning behind it. And the 28 hoops represents the days in the lunar cycle, like you said, but it's the one here when you have this, live in an area where there's a sharp differentiation between the seasons. The seasons are like contracted, they're condensed, and so when you transition like from winter into spring, it's really a sharp differentiation. So that every day you wake up and you see a new color, new movement, hear a new sound as different insects come alive, different birds come back. Every day you see a new shape, a new color, everything. So it's really a marked acceleration of signs every day. So then in this hoop dance, what we do is we kind of recreate that sequence of manifestations of signs of light throughout that dance. And so it represents that, but then those different colors represent, not just it's the hoops, not just represents the four directions and seasons and elements, but also symbolically represents different kinds of people. Because in our local language, when we talk about people, like different kindreds, we say oyate ha changalishka, the hoop of the nation, because that hoop represents people, since that shape denotes unity, harmony and balance, all these things. So then, in one sense, you can say the hoop dance recreates the springtime, the physical springtime, but that's just the very basic symbolism. What it really represents is this time that all peoples anticipate throughout the world, which is this ingathering of humanity, when all the different diverse peoples come together and they bring with them from their different backgrounds the force of life. Just like in the springtime, you have to have the water coming down, the wind blowing, you have to have the sun shining. All these different elemental forces create life. And so we as human beings embody all these powers within ourselves. And when we come together, we bring that power, and it creates life, creates the impetus for new life. So we're living at this time now, you can say this period of human history of the ingathering of humanity. So then we symbolically portray that with the hoop dance to represent all the powers of life coming. It's like I say, it is a very universal aspiration or realization. We could say a prophecy. So it's simply just enacting that, and then when we do that dance, it's just like it draws everybody into the dance. And I always bring about, oh gosh, 50 or 60 extra hoops. And I like to invite everybody to do that. Because it's no good just to watch, everything we do in life is vicarious. And we're sitting there with our little remote control and we're watching things there. So that's no good, just to do everything vicarious. I was thinking we have to actually get involved, and then once we get involved in that, whatever culture, whatever idea, what it might have been extrinsic to us, but the moment we learn that song, learn that dance, or hear that story and integrate it, then that's what happens. It becomes internalized. We integrate it into our own self, our reality, and we take ownership of it. This way, it's, like learning about different cultures is no longer vicarious, but no, we can begin to see ourselves as legitimate heirs, heirs, heirs to all the riches of the human experience, you see, so that we can integrate that. So then, like we look at the world news, and those people over wherever they are, they're not foreign to us. Maybe they're Haitians or they're Afghanis or wherever they're from. And we can see that they are indeed our relatives. We're very closely connected to them. See? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really believe in that. So I really believe that, then then I was talking to this elder. He just passed away recently. And in his youth, long ago, he was a great hoop dancer. So then I asked him, where does the dance come from? Then he said, I thought he was going to tell me, oh, I got it from this guy, or he showed me. But no, he didn't say that. He said, no, he says, this dance, it comes from out in the universe. It comes from out in the universe, he said. And then he said, it comes from the same place where we all come from. That place of beauty, place of light, place of reality, you could say, that place. And he said, then he told me, he says, you're really lucky. He says, you're lucky because you get to go to all these schools. And it's true. That's my main audience, all these kids around here. It's a good audience because, they can't escape. They're a captive audience. They're all there against their free will. And, they can't leave. But anyway, that's beside the point. He said, you're lucky because you get to go to all these schools and you can reinforce them because that's who we all are. We all come from that place of beauty, place of color, place of oneness. We all come from there. He says they already know that, these kids, and you can just reinforce them in that who they are. He says, even a lot of adults, they forgot. They got pulled into this unreal world. They call it this, the unreal world that we're living in. They got pulled into it and they think it's real. They think that it has something of value. He says, but they forgot who they are. He said, through these ways, through the ways that we have, you can even pull them into it and cause them to be cognizant or to realize who they are. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And it's so powerful. It's so powerful. And I like because you've said in the past, I've heard you say that you like working with the children because it's like the seed planted. And even with the
Yeah.
adults, it's like helping them find who they are again. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
getting in touch
It's
with
great.
them.
It's the best audience. I like it.
Yeah,
There's
absolutely.
nothing better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know you have this really beautiful way of describing the pattern, like the shape of the hoop. So it's a circular, shape,
Yeah.
and you say that every seat in it is a front row seat. That every
Yeah.
at like they have an equal viewing position in that, and I think that's so beautiful that because it's all connected, it all works together. And what
Yeah.
I'll do is I'm going to include you have so many awesome videos on your site, and I'll include that in the description here too. So if anyone out there, if you haven't seen the hoop dance, you absolutely, I encourage you to do it because it is so magical and it takes you to a really special place. And I think it really demonstrates, like you said, it's this prayer, but it demonstrates the interconnectedness of everything. And I think
Yes.
it's such a gift. It's such a
Yeah.
gift. Yeah. So thank you for all of the work that you're doing with that. So
Sure.
you've mentioned kind of this period that we are in the world, and I think it can be a period. A lot of things are shifting, a lot of things are changing, and I think people, if you're not opening up to the whole picture and seeing the connectedness that you're teaching people about and you're reminding them who they are, right? If someone's not tapped into that yet, then it can be a place that becomes overwhelming. It can be a
Hmm.
place where people start to lose hope or they have fear, and those are never good things. So in today where I think it's such a critical time, it's always important to work together. But I think right now it's a really critical time in our existence for us to recognize the oneness of everything and one another. Um,
Yes.
so what would you say, what are some tips or advice that you would give people to get in touch with who they actually are so they can see the world through a different lens, in that lens of that oneness that you've worked so hard for such a long time to spread the word about. But I think we're in an accelerated period right now
Yeah.
where it's critical to our survival as a species. I mean, the world will still go on without us, but I think as the survival to our species, it's so important that we see each other as one and work together. So what do you think would be a couple of good ways and tips for people to maybe change their perspective on how they're seeing the world?
Yeah. 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 I think you really hit on it. And that is that, every one of us is we're a unique combination of all the divine attributes, all the powers of earth and heaven. If you think of the four directions and the heavens and the earth, then every moment we're always right at the center. We're always at that center place. So everything in creation comes through us. You can say we're the center point. So then we do have all these. We can potentially manifest all these divine attributes, uh, each and every one of us. But every one of us is like a unique combination of those qualities. So maybe somebody might, maybe their dominant attribute is like maybe um, wisdom, or it could be like uh, um, eloquence, or maybe it could be just the power of expression, or whatever it is, honesty, or whatever that unique quality is. We have that. So then when we get together, we can see that we create this beautiful composite. And so then this is the power of unity, is that we can create this high level of power in the world through unity. But we have to discover what it is within ourselves, in order to develop that quality. So that's always tell my grandkids, is no matter what, you just can't just sit there like a lump. You got to get out and do stuff, whatever it is, because the only way is that path opens up for us is through movement, is through positive movement. So we can do that. We can pray for it as well. We can pray for that, and we can set our mind on that. And every one of us has a different way of doing that, a different way. So I can't impose what works for me on anybody else. I can tell people what works for me, but everybody has their own way. And then it seems like we're kind of inexorably pulled in that direction. Also, many of us, as long as we open up to it, then we'll be pulled in that direction if we allow it to happen, so that those gifts can be opened up for us, can be revealed for us. So it's really good like that. Yeah.
Yeah, well said. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's so extraordinary. I mean, even our bodies, like if you think about all the different systems within our bodies and the cells, they're all individual, but they work
Yeah.
as a whole to create us.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I
exactly.
the world the same way, you know. I mean,
Yeah,
you and I are our own individual beings, but we are still connected and we're still one,
yeah,
you know. And I feel the same way about, you know, the air and the mountains and the water and the soil and all of it. You know, I feel like
yeah,
it's
exactly.
all relies on one another. So,
Yeah,
you know, but having someone open to that space that you're talking about, finding that openness where you
yeah,
can see through that veil and it's like, yes, there's more to
yeah.
it, right? Yeah. So here's working together on that for
All
sure.
right, very good. Yeah.
Yeah, Kevin, let me ask you, what are some of the lessons that we can learn from nature?
Uh, well, really, you can learn just about everything. Everything. It is like an open book. It's a book that's open, and so we can, as we observe it, then we can learn so much about just how everything operates. Because again, like we say, like everything in the world is a physical manifestation of a spiritual reality. So it is like that. It is like a like open book. We can study the different kind of animals, maybe the birds, the habits of the birds, the patterns. The way they raise their young. You know, I'll give an example. I was up in Alberta just before the pandemic, and we were coming kind of in a remote area. And I was driving with a friend. I was a passenger, and I looked way down the road, and I saw some big animals on the side of the road. And as we got closer, we could see it was five grizzly bears right along the side of the road. So then my friend was driving, kind of slowed down. He knew not to stop. It became like Meals on Wheels for them. But anyway, uh, then I really looked and I could see what was going on. Was that there was two adults and there was three cubs or younger ones there, and those adults were digging out medicine on the side of the road. They've got those long claws, and so they're digging out some roots there on the side of the road, and they're at the top of the food chain, so they didn't pay any attention to us. They're just kind of driving slow right beside them. And then I realized that they'd probably been doing that for thousands of years in that spot. There was no roads there, nothing at that time, but they always go to that spot to get that root, to get that medicine. So they're passing on that knowledge to those younger ones. Of course, when you look at bears, people have been studying the bears for thousands of years here. Getting back to your question, is that the people know that the things that the bears eat, everything they eat, is exactly the same things that people eat. You think about it, they're omnivorous. See, they're omnivorous. And so then for thousands of years, people here in North America, they really are interested in studying bears. They're studying the bears because when they have an ailment or any kind of sickness within themselves, either instinctively or through that knowledge, like we saw that knowledge that those older bears are passing on to those cubs. That was a learning experience for the cubs. But you see, they were teaching them where to go for whatever I don't know why they were getting those herbs, whatever it was, but they had a reason for it, for digging those out. And so people here in North America have been studying that for thousands of years. This is one of the ways to unlock all these different herbal remedies that we have. This is how all these different plants. I think it's three fifths of the plants currently under cultivation in the world originated from here, from the Western Hemisphere. So these are all thought of as divine gifts that the people are given, largely through the law of fasting, through observing the law of fasting. Then these gifts are brought to the people of the different herbal remedies, different plants like corn, bean, squash, tomatoes, chocolate, chilies, on and on, all these different kinds of plants. Their gifts revealed through the law of fasting to the people here. And, all these different gifts, they have their own songs too, their own prayers that go with them as well. And so this is how the people are able to unlock these secrets through this, through, I guess you could say through contemplation, meditation, and prayer.
Ah,
These they reveal like that.
yeah, yeah. Very powerful. Really powerful.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So let me ask you, what are some of your favorite sounds? Like when you hear them, it just feels like everything is right in the world.
Oh yeah, like this rain. You can hear this rain right out here.
Yeah.
And then we have the Missouri River right out here. You can hear that. Hear the the water. It's very beautiful. It's right here, right beside the house, the river. And then like you can hear these the leaves. We have the cottonwood trees, and that's rustling right here. And then you can hear all these birds too, the songs. And they actually, like in the Lakota language, when we speak it, it has really a rhythmical pattern. And so these birds can actually talk. They can, it sounds like they're making sentences, and they'll speak. They even have the story about how the this particular bird uh, rescued the people from a pandemic in the 19th century, gave the information about how to survive the pandemic. So that's all from people listening to things and hearing that. And then like to go out running right out here, and there's an ancient village, old village site, and it's about 7 or 8 tenths of a mile all the way around. So I'll do like usually about 4 laps around there. But there's also a nesting pair of eagles, and so there's some young eagles flying around here too. So I like to watch them too. They're right around here. We see them quite a bit, right out here. And so yeah, we get to see all those things. It's really beautiful to hear all these sounds. But I like all those sounds, all these different seasonal colors and changes, everything. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're really, I think, I at least feel very blessed and fortunate to be able to witness these and to see,
Yeah.
to hear them and to feel them. And then even just the way, like when the wind blows or after it rains, there's a certain smell to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just
It
like,
is. So true.
yeah. And I feel every
Yeah.
time I have one of those moments, I just feel so incredibly blessed to be able to like observe that and
Yeah.
feel it, right? Yeah. So,
Right.
let me ask you, you talk about the light of knowledge and the journey of light. Can you tell us what that is?
Oh, the journey of light.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's just the idea that we're on this path in our local culture. We call that the red road, the red road. And what that really refers to is that the ancient uh, messenger of God who appeared in this area was this a woman. They call her Potential Skawi, white buffalo calf woman. And so then she marked out this road of life, this path of life, this way of being for the people. So that's the path that they talk to, the path that will lead us into goodness, into beauty, into holiness. And so she even brought the songs to help us on that journey, this beautiful journey on this road of life. So they say that we start this journey in this world here, and we walk this path. And then when we leave this world, we continue on that journey throughout eternity. The path goes on. It's really they say it's if you look at it, it's the Milky Way. We don't call it milk in English. They call it Milky Way. They call that Wanahi Chanku, the Spirit Road. Spirit Road. So there, even that path forks, but the one path goes out to nothing. But we want to stay on that straight path that goes out throughout eternity. And so this is how we're always connected to our departed loved ones, because we can always pray for them, and they in turn can bestow benedictions and blessings upon us in this world. So we have that constant relationship back and forth. But that's the path of light, the journey of path of light, and it's really beautiful In the morning, you can see it like when the morning star comes up and the morning star disappears, and you can see that red path laid out across the eastern horizon, and the sun comes up through that. So yeah, everything's marked out. We have the signs in the creation of this this beautiful path, beautiful way that we can walk in this world. And in this way, then we can restore beauty and holiness and goodness within ourselves, and then we can bring that out into the world. It's the world of reality, And so we have a powerful way of keeping ourselves on that path and everything. And a lot of it is reinforced through music, through music, and through prayer and dance, through living the life. Yeah. So it's a great thing. It's a great journey. We're all on that journey. It may look like we're in different places on that journey, but it all goes towards one summit anyway.
Yeah, that's magical.
Yeah.
I love how you just described that with, the Milky Way and all of it in that path and that journey, because in those times that maybe we can feel isolated or feel,
Yeah.
I think what you just spoke to is we're never alone. We always have that connection. So to remember,
Yeah.
and that really helps us navigate through what could be challenging times, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it Lakota that there is no word for art because it's all one, it's all connected with everything else?
Yeah. You can't really differentiate it. You know, for instance, in Lakota language, you can say like different kinds of ways of creating art, like maybe beadwork or quill work, whatever you're doing, you can say that, but there's no word to say like art, because it's so part of life. It would be unthinkable to differentiate it, to separate it out, because we do live in this world of beauty and color and sound and movement, world of fragrance. It's a miraculous world that we live in. So we always we just accept it at that. We don't want to kind of separate it out. It's not that it's not that it's there's a deficit in the language, but it's just traditionally it's unthinkable to differentiate it, because this is a part of our everyday life. Everyday life. We have to do it. You look at you know like I've got this little daughter. You can see this wall. Yeah, see these little kids. They know that world. They live in that world of color and beauty, and they create that world. And you look at a lot of these pictures here, you can see that maybe she does this picture of a flower, like this flower there, and flower and rainbow. These are, but they're really, what those are is those are they're just depicting themselves when they do that. These little kids, they're saying like, this is me, this is my reality. I was created to bring all this color, all this beauty, bring all this fragrance, and bring all these blessings into the world. And you look at these pictures, you can see how sometimes it's got a little sun up there, it's got little birds up there, maybe a little cloud. But so what they're saying is that we also need to have this, the light of knowledge, light of understanding and love. We need to have that soft breeze. We need to have, that water of life coming upon us. And this is what a great message for, adults or caregivers is, that we have to be the instrumentality through which they receive that. Because, in the world at large that we live in, unless we create like some kind of infrastructure or support for these kids, if we just abandon them, it's like tossing these beautiful flowers or plants into a big vat of herbicide, because really there's so much in the world at large, the material world, that militates against the development of our spiritual capacity. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that, yes.
Yeah. So we have to be very conscious, very conscientious about creating that infrastructure
Mhm.
for not just for ourselves, but for our kids. We have to create that, be very mindful about that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Have a discipline every day to do something. I know it might sound rigid or something, but we have to do it in our everyday life. We have to focus on it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
yeah, like you, I do. I think that's very valuable and really important, and I think it's one of those things that it helps keep us rooted and it helps keep things in perspective. So,
exactly.
are you still? Yeah. Okay. Um, I think the video side just went out, but I
Yeah,
was.
I got this call right here. There's a call. I didn't know how to, I don't know if I can just switch this call away. Oh no, let's see. There.
Okay, well, we both just learned something that if you do get a call, we can switch it away. So it looks like
Let's
they're
see.
eager to talk to you, though, and that
Let's
they're
see.
calling back.
Yeah, I didn't know how to,
Yeah,
I didn't know how to make it so those calls don't come in.
yeah, no
Yeah,
worries. Yeah, I mean, this is real life. It's part of
it's
life.
real life.
Yeah, it
This
happens.
is my life,
This
my
happens.
low tech life.
Yeah, it's all
Yeah,
good. So,
yeah.
but was there anything that you wanted to add that we haven't covered? Is there anything you would like to add before we wrap up?
No, no, I think that's good right there. Everything is good.
Okay,
Yeah,
and where can
yeah,
I'll include the stuff that we talked about in the description here so people can access that. And where would
yeah.
you like people if they want to find and learn more about you? Where would you like them to go to do that?
Yeah, I've got that website, kevinlocke.com. And yeah, I'd be happy to send out information or, anything. I'm really, it's during the pandemic, everything came down to a complete standstill. And so I know we had got a little window opened up now so we can do a few things and we'll see what happens with the, trajectory of the pandemic now, see what happens with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it
But
was
yeah,
really an honor to connect with you today. Thank you so much for taking your time out
sure,
and for
sure,
just
sure.
your presence, your energy, and your wisdom. Really
All
appreciate
right.
it. Thank you for all of the work that you're doing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we all got to do what we can.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, and you're doing your part too. You're doing good. Thanks so much for
thank you.
bringing a lot of good information into the world. It's great.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Working on it
yeah,
every
absolutely.
so trying, right? So yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Kevin. Thank you again. Thank you so much. And I guess we'll stay in touch and talk soon, maybe.
Okay, very good. Thanks for the opportunity.
All right.
Very
Thank you.
good. All right.